I'm Carl Azuz, and welcome to CNN Student News. On Tuesday night, President Obama spoke to the American people about Syria. He aimed to give a moral argument for why the U.S. military should get involved, and he explained why he thinks what's happening in Syria could potentially affect the United States.
If we fail to act, the Assad regime will see no reason to stop using chemical weapons. As the ban against these weapons erodes, other tyrants will have no reason to think twice about acquiring poison gas and using them. Over time, our troops would again face the prospect of chemical warfare on the battlefield. And it could be easier for terrorist organizations to obtain these weapons and to use them to attack civilians.
The president talked about the idea of a strike against Syria. He also discussed a diplomatic proposal from Russia.
I determined that it is in the national security interests of the United States to respond to the Assad regime's use of chemical weapons through a targeted military strike. But this initiative has the potential to remove the threat of chemical weapons without the use of force, particularly because Russia is one of Assad's strongest allies. I have therefore asked the leaders of Congress to postpone a vote to authorize the use of force while we pursue this diplomatic path.
That next step is for U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry to meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. That starts today in Geneva, Switzerland. So President Obama made his case on Tuesday. Some members of Congress said they weren't convinced.
What I'm arguing is that what the president has planned is not going to accomplish what he says he's going to accomplish, which is to punish Assad for this. I think Assad personally will not be held accountable for this. I also think that even if the diplomatic solution occurs, that he still may not be accountable.
Next story today takes us to Libya. One city in the North African nation has been the site of multiple attacks against diplomatic missions and officials. Yesterday, a car bomb exploded outside of a foreign ministry building in Benghazi. Large parts of the building's outer walls were blown away, but there were no casualties and only one minor injury was reported. This happened on the 12th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks in the U.S. and 1 year to the day after a terrorist attack against a U.S. facility in Benghazi, Libya. In 2012, the U.S. consulate building there was targeted. This video was shot inside the consulate afterward. 4 Americans were killed in that assault, including U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens. Some lawmakers criticized President Obama and his administration for their response to that attack and for not providing enough security before it happened. Yesterday, we marked the anniversary of the 2001 terrorist attack on the United States, and Americans paused to honor the victims of that day. In New York City, there were moments of silence. Family members read the names of the people who lost their lives on September 11, 2001. People gathered at the Pentagon to remember lost loved ones. President Obama was there saying, "Our hearts still ache for the futures snatched away." And a ceremony in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, as bells tolled for each passenger and crew member on board the plane that crashed there 12 years ago. In New York, a new building, One World Trade Center, has been gradually climbing back up into the sky. Here's a look at its progress.
It's time for the shout out. What do Joan Smalls, Giselle Bundchen, and Coco Rocho have in common? If you think you know it, then shout it out. Are they all authors, dancers, politicians, or models? You've got 3 seconds. Go. Smalls, Bunchen, and Rocha all work as fashion models. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
In an industry that's focused on looks, Sean Ross stands out. He's not as famous as the models we mentioned in that shout out, but Ross is making a name for himself and hoping to make a difference for others. On his Twitter page, Sean's description simply says, "I want to inspire you." He explains why and how in this report.
You know, I was always a person I was made fun of, but yet again, I don't want your sympathy. All kids got made fun of at some time in their life, you know, for being too short, being fat, being skinny, having buck teeth, having crooked teeth, you know, all kinds of things. So I don't want that to be the reason where it's like, you know, let's look at this boy and give him sympathy. My name is Sean Ross, and I am considered technically a professional model. And I think that I broke the mold for a lot of people, and I feel like there are a lot of mold breakers. Like, I don't think I even knew what albinism was until like maybe the 6th grade, 7th grade. I never really questioned it. You know, I just feel like, you know, I've always been the one who wanted to like stand out. You know, it's like if I stand out already, why not stand out ultimately? So when everybody thinks of Fashion Week, you know, they think of like this like super crazy paparazzi, fashion, couture, gowns, everything. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It's really like sometimes an illusion. The concept of perfection, it depends on, you know, what angle you're coming from. I was just a person that, you know, I felt that I could have got tattoos, could have got piercings, could have dyed my hair. I mean, I've been asked by a lot of different people to dye my hair. I've never done it because it's like, why should I change my appearance for you? You know, you're not changing your standards for me, so why should I change my standards for you? You know, this has just been something I've seen my whole entire life in this career of what is perfect. It's just weird. I see these kids and they're just beyond talented. And I just, you know, I just really want to be a voice for kids. I really want to tell this little girl that, you know, you're not ugly because you have vitiligo, or this other little girl who's literally half paralyzed inside of a wheelchair, but she doesn't care. And she just wants to show the world, you know, how beautiful she is because she's extremely beautiful. And that's my whole message. You can do whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. You can just do whatever. And you can go after it. You can accomplish it. And you can achieve it.
One if by land, two if by sea. The roll call is coming. The roll call is coming. It starts with Revere High School. That's why we did that. Home of the Minutemen from Richfield, Ohio. For most of us, today is Thursday, but for the Thunder at Discovery Canyon campus in Colorado Springs, Colorado, it's Thursday. Happy Thursday, y'all. And Charlie the Cougar closes out today's roll call. That's the mascot at Helen Cox High in Harvey, Louisiana. Wilson, Newton, RG3, NFL has some impressive mobile quarterbacks. But keep an eye out for the Pee Wee player in this YouTube video because after taking the snap, he takes off. Boom! Just knocks over that guy, outruns a bunch more, and he's not done. Jukes the guy out by the sideline and stiff arm for good measure. After all that, he deserves a clear path to the end zone. He may be small, but it looks like he's head and shoulder pads above the competition. All right, time for us to take a hike. For CNN Student News, I'm Carl Azuz. We'll see you tomorrow.